Welcome to Conversatio, the podcast of Belmont Abbey College. This podcast aims to form and transform our community so that each of us can reflect God's image. My name is Dr. Thomas Varacalli. I am the interim dean of the Honors College at Belmont Abbey, and today I am joined with Dr. Ryan Messmore of the Institute for Catholic Liberal Education. Dr. Messmore, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Is this your first time at Belmont Abbey?
It's my second time, actually, but it was over a decade ago that I was last here, so it's really good to be back.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Dr. Messmore, say something about how you became Catholic, because I've heard that you are a convert.
That's right. I grew up as a Protestant evangelical, and it was probably when my wife and I went to Cambridge University. I was doing a one-year master's degree there, that we really came to appreciate the high Anglican liturgy, the beauty of the liturgy, especially around Holy Week. And we had loved celebrating that liturgy since. Until one year, we were in a small group Bible study, and they were on Thursdays, and we showed up on Holy Thursday, and we said, "Happy Maundy Thursday, everyone!" And they looked at us and said, "Oh, is today special?" And we thought, "Oh dear, we're not going to be able to celebrate the Triduum in the way that we were wanting to there." So said we'll have to celebrate at that Catholic church that we drive by on the way to get here, and probably have reconfirmed all the reasons that we should not be Catholic. Gosh, we got to the end of that Easter and just thought we're going to need better reasons to keep driving by this Catholic church. It was beautiful. We heard the scriptures preached. We saw the sacraments administered, and thought, wow, what are we actually protesting here? That was right before I went to Oxford for my doctorate, and I was in a peer cohort group of about seven or eight students, and about 4 of them were going through RCIA. And so I would go over, I would talk to them, I'd come back with all these questions, I would talk to my wife, we would generate more questions, I'd go back to Oxford. So there was a period of a year or two there where we felt the spirit of John Henry Newman chasing us through the streets of Oxford, and eventually led us home to Rome.
St. Cardinal Newman has done that for many. What other thinkers in the Catholic liberal tradition have you gravitated to?
Yeah. Of course, St. Thomas Aquinas, St. Augustine, but also the story more recently of Edmund Campion has captured my imagination. A convert, Oxford scholar, and ultimately ended up giving his life for the church and for the Catholic faith. So I'm inspired by him. We pray a lot together.
Wonderful. It's one of the books on my to-do list is to read Evelyn Waugh's book on Campion.
Really
is it good?
Really good. Yeah, it's his story is amazing. It really is.
Well, you are the director of the Catholic Educator Formation and Credential Program at the Institute for Catholic Liberal Education. Can you explain a little bit what ICLE is and what it currently does?
Sure, yeah. ICLE is an apostolate that tries to serve the church by helping Catholic schools to reclaim their Catholic identity. We are sitting on the richest, most successful model of education in the world, which is the Catholic intellectual tradition. And we have everything that you need to form a human being well, to educate a human being well within that tradition. We've got Augustine, we've got Aquinas, we've got the first universities, we've got the libraries and the learning that was kept alive in the monasteries for so many years. We've got John Henry Newman and J.R.R. Tolkien. We've got the Catholic imagination, the sacramental imagination. So we're trying to go to Catholic schools and say, this is your tradition. You need to be proud of it. You need to be unapologetically leading with it. Because unfortunately, as you know, many Catholic schools across the country end up looking a lot like the standard public school, maybe with a theology class added, maybe with prayer at the beginning of a class. That strikes us, as one of our friends from ICLE says, as viewing the Catholic faith as frosting that you can cover on top of the traditional educational cake, but it doesn't actually change the cake itself. And we are trying to help schools to think through what it would mean to view your Catholic faith as yeast that actually works its way into every inch of the educational cake, transforms the nature of the cake itself. And when they do, when they see that and understand that, the school changes, and it's a wonderful thing to see.
That's beautiful. It's so well needed right now. Now, what does the credential program at ICLE currently do?
This program began out of kind of the consternation of Catholic schools shackling themselves with the requirement that every teacher at their school receive a secular state teaching license. That regulation differs from state to state, but there are many states in which private schools do not have to require a teacher license. And yet, many Catholic schools do anyway. And so you think about Catholic parents, they have a free public school option available to them, but they choose to spend their money to send their child to a Catholic school instead. Only to have the Catholic school turn around and require every single one of their teachers to be trained by the secular state. We find that very problematic, and so we've created an alternative Catholic teaching credential to the secular teaching license. This is an 18-month program. It's recognized by many dioceses across the country. We have 250 member schools in ICLE. It's a portable credential, so if you move from one state to another, you can take that credential with you and take it to your diocese and have your diocese recognize it and allow you to teach in a Catholic school, bypassing the whole need to be trained at a large secular state university on how to educate. So again, we're trying to help walk teachers through the basic teachings of the Catholic faith, what it means to be human from a Catholic worldview perspective, and then what is the pedagogy that flows out of that? How do you manage a classroom? How do you put together a lesson plan? How do you decorate your classroom? How do you bring to life the wonder and the joy of learning at God's creation? So we go from deep philosophy and theology all the way down to how do you communicate with the parent of a child as a classroom teacher, and everything in between.
Wonderful. One of the unique aspects of ICLE is it emphasizes in particular the importance of Catholic liberal education. And it shies somewhat from the word classical.
Right.
And why should Catholics reclaim Catholic liberal education when sometimes the word liberal can confuse some good-meaning Catholics?
Right. Yeah. So by liberal, we are not referring to a spectrum of political views, right wing, left wing. We're borrowing a much more ancient and time-tested word that comes from the word libertas, liberalis. It's the Latin for freedom, the freedom that you find in Jesus Christ. And so we are borrowing, or we are reclaiming within the larger Catholic intellectual tradition the 7 liberal arts. These are the arts that liberate students to be able to think for themselves, we're freeing them from ignorance, from their own untrained passions, from popular opinion and propaganda, and really helping them to become the human beings that God created them to be. And we believe that is a time-tested way of educating students. And it goes back over 800 years. So a lot a lot of schools who are kind of looking around and saying, oh, enrollment is going down. We need to do something. We need to find a trend or a model out there to help help enrollment. They often reach back to what they call the classical tradition, and then they kind of bring that in and figure out a way to relate that to their Christian tradition. Within the Catholic tradition, we don't need to borrow anything more ancient. That is our tradition, and Aquinas was ours. Augustine was ours. The earliest reflections on faith and reason were generated within the church. So we're about trying to reclaim our own tradition, and we believe that has everything that you need within it. It's got Aquinas, it's got Latin, it's got the 7 liberal arts, it's got the first universities, and we're recovering that from within.
One of the great blessings I have as Dean of the Honors College is I get to teach men and women who want to learn the trivium, the quadrivium, who want to read Augustine and Aquinas. But I feel that my role is somewhat easier than yours because they're 18 or 19 years old. Right. They've had time to think through why studying the trivium and the quadrivium is so important. How do you convince, how do you show elementary students and students in secondary education, students in high school, how do you show that this Catholic liberal tradition is worth studying? Yeah.
Through wonder, through joy. We believe that Socrates was right, and Aquinas as well. The pathway to wisdom starts with wonder, and we believe that the doctrine of creation, the doctrine that a good God, a loving God, created all that is, stamped it with his logos, and then created us to be able to know it, just creates this wonderful opportunity to awaken the young student imagination to the enchanted world that God has given us. So we train teachers how to spark wonder in their students, starting with a picture study, just putting them in front of a beautiful piece of art and saying, what do you notice? Describe it to me. Coming to see it in new ways, things that you had missed before. Getting outside and just marveling at God's creation. Having a wonder day at the beginning of each unit that you're studying, where the agenda is not to learn anything other than to spark some interest, spark some questions, and then the rest of your unit will be able to unpack and explore those. So if you can start with wonder, then you've got the student. They want to learn. They're not thinking about tests. They're not thinking about all of the boring stuff. They're like, tell me the answer. I want to know why did God create it that way? Why does it appear that way? And then it's just a joyful classroom.
If a school is interested in revitalizing its Catholicism and revitalizing its liberal education, and if they wanted to begin to partner with ICLE, what would the first 2 or 3 years look like? How would ICLE provide services for that school?
Yeah. We do that in a couple of different ways. First, they could send any of their teachers to the credential program, and they would go through an 18-month program, and they would do that while they were teaching in a school, so that they could they could learn an insight, and then that very day implement it in the classroom, come back, talk about it, figure out how they can improve, go back into the classroom. So that's one way. Another way is that we would take some of our staff to their school, and we would create a 3-year plan of professional development where all of their teachers would come, and we would introduce them to the trivium, we would introduce them to the quadrivium, we would introduce them to picture studies, how to lead a seminar, how to use the human tendency to imitate as a vehicle of knowledge. We call it mimetic teaching. We ground them in the 5 marks of the Catholic school, which is anchored in the Holy See's teaching on Catholic schools. And so over 3 years, we're building a relationship with them. We're returning to them semester after semester and slowly walking them through a process. Those are the 2 long-term ways in which we serve schools. We also offer a number of programs for different constituent groups that have a hand in education. So superintendents of school systems, we have a monthly call with and an annual retreat with. Administrators and headmasters and heads of schools. We have a cohort of those that meet and talk through the challenges specific to them. Last week, we held our first symposium for priests who serve as pastors at these schools, trying to help them recover their spiritual authority within the school and how to lead their own faculty in seminars and even picture studies. The demand for this is just exploding, and we can barely keep up with the demand.
You foreshadowed my next question, and that was going to be, how is ICLE holding up with this increased demand? It's
energizing. And it's very hopeful for us, especially to see the hearing that we're getting amongst bishops and priests. Some diocesan schools have been around for a long time, and they have deeply ingrained habits, and they can be big vessels to turn or to introduce to a new way of thinking about education, liberal arts education. But the bishops are saying something's got to change in our diocesan schools. And I think COVID kind of helped drive that home. It brought to the forefront a lot of what has been passing for education over the past couple of decades. And they're hungry. And when you get the bishop and when you get the bishop superintendent and the priests all kind of swimming in the same direction on that, then really exciting things can happen. And that's where we're beginning to see a lot of hopeful light.
That's great. Belmont Abbey is developing a very strong partnership with ICLE. We currently have developed our Masters in Classical and Liberal Education, and now up to 12 credits from ICLE can go to our 30-credit master's program. So if any students are interested in ICLE, you'll be able to knock 2 birds with 1 stone.
And an even less expensive pathway to get there. So yeah, that's a great opportunity for young teachers, and we're thrilled to be partnering with Belmont Abbey on that.
Well, thank you, Dr. Messmore. As we conclude, thank you to our audience for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Messmore, for joining us and for this wonderful conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and tell your friends that Conversatio is available on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Until next time, God bless.